Warning, a social credit score system is here. Now, a social credit score is an authoritarian's dream. To be able to digitally surveil and control the people, the masses. I mean, imagine if Stalin, Hitler, and Mao had it, maybe it would have worked for them, which is why, of course, the Chinese Communist Party has been using it for years, and why other nations are working to install it as soon as possible. But not the United States, right? I mean, the land of the free would never install a social credit scoring system, would they? The people would never stand for this, right? Well, these horrible things, they never come in straight up to your face, but instead come cloaked and covered like a wolf in sheep's clothing. And that's exactly what's happening, and I hate to say it, but it's here in the US right now. So in this video, I'll break down the shocking new bill that got slipped into a new piece of legislation, what this means for Americans' privacy and freedom, and even the rest of the world. I'm gonna show you how it's already starting to get some use, and of course, where I think this goes, and what we should be doing about this, and how we ultimately win with this. So let's go. All right, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mark Moss. I make these videos to change the way you think about money because almost everything you've learned is wrong. Almost everything you're hearing is wrong. And so if I can bring a little bit of perspective and clarity and some action, we're all going to be okay. We're all going to survive this together. Now, I do send out a weekly kind of recap, my thoughts on what I see for the week, what's shaping up, what I'm watching, reading, important things. If you'd like to get my notes to really stay in sync so you can stay one step ahead of what's happening, I'll put a link to it down below. It's free. I just send it out every week. I think it's helpful. About 100,000 other people do as well. So check it out. There's a link down below. I don't know about you. I mean, you're watching YouTube right now. I watch a lot of YouTube as well, but I don't watch TV other than, like I said, some YouTube, maybe some Netflix or Amazon Prime, something like that. But I don't watch the news. I don't watch mainstream news, but I go to the gym. And at the gym, they always have the TVs on, and I can't help but look at them. I don't want to. And the other day, they had, the news channels on, the mainstream news channels, MSNBC, CNN, even Fox. And all of them, just like a chorus, blaring the exact same tune, we're talking about the expiration of Title 42. A wave of people about to flood across the southern border. It's been all over. As you probably know, everyone's been going nuts about this, the last few days, weeks, whatever. And I'm not going to pretend to know what your stance on the border crisis we're facing is, nor am I even going to talk about it. But if you and I are probably on the same wavelength, you might also have this nagging suspicion that we're probably being led by the nose towards some deeper agenda. And let me tell you, the research that my team and I have conducted points exactly in that direction. Isn't it funny how these situations seems to always play out the same way? I mean, first, we encounter a problem created by the government, most likely. Then comes the reaction. And finally, the solution is presented just like clockwork. Now, this border situation, it's like a chessboard for the global players, for the global strategists, for the Game of Thrones. And they're making moves, they're making counter moves, and they exploit the fractured immigration system like water eroding a rock, gradually undermining our own personal rights. And if you've watched my previous interview I did with Whitney Webb recently, then you already know all this. You know that everything going on around us is sort of a distraction on the short end of things. But the ultimate goal is to move us to their ultimate goal, which of course is a digital panopticon, where we have a digital identity, a social credit score, and central bank digital currencies that surveil and control our every movement and our actions. Now, does that sound like a thriller plot to you? Well, hold on to your seat because I'm about to lay out for you in no uncertain terms what to anticipate from this unfolding border situation. And again, it's not about the border. Now, this isn't all bad, okay? Just real quick. It's not all doom and gloom. So I'm also going to share why I remain bullish about our prospects in the long run. I'm also going to give you some wisdom to help you not just survive, but to actually prosper in the coming days, months, and years ahead. But let's start. First things first. Consider the relatively new 100-mile border enforcement zone, which is essentially a quote, constitution-free zone, meaning the Constitution doesn't apply. It means within this yellow border, the Border Patrol has extra constitutional jurisdiction. Now, as you may already know, under the Fourth Amendment, law enforcement can't stop we, the people, without probable cause. They need a search warrant, or they need your permission. But a law called the Immigration and Nationality Act made a massive exception to these constitutional rights. The bill says that Border Patrol agents can pull you over and ask you for your ID without a warrant, without probable cause, and it also says that it can search your vehicle without the need for probable cause. But it gets worse. If you think you're safe because you don't live near the border, which I do, but if you think you're safe because you don't, then think again. Because this jurisdiction also extends to within 100 miles of any international airport. And that would mean because almost 9 out of 10 Americans live within the Border Patrol's jurisdiction. Now, that was the first nail in the coffin. Now, are you ready to see the next one? Well, here you go. The House just gave the green light to the cleverly titled, quote, Border Security and Enforcement Act of 2023, or H.R. 2640. And it appears that the GOP, they're like kids in a candy store with this one. Why? Because it camouflages as a bill that promises to secure the border. You want us to secure the border? Great, we'll give it to you. But we might stick a couple things in there. So at first glance, it does seem to contain elements related to border security, such as empowering state attorney general to haul federal government to court for failing to detain unauthorized immigrants. It also pledges to slam the door on asylum and residency for known criminals. Those sound like good things. That's what they want, right? But here's the thing. Among the text of this bill, hidden in there, like a snake in the grass, is a provision that wants to roll out E-Verify nationwide. Now, E-Verify, if you don't know, is a federal surveillance program that determines whether or not a person can be legally employed in the U.S. Now, this was created back in 1997 to stop companies from hiring illegal aliens. And in the beginning, it was framed up as completely voluntary, and only 9 states have made it mandatory for all employers. But through this new act, it wants to roll out E-Verify nationwide, making it mandatory and stripping states of their authority to even decide if they want to do it. Now, credit where it's due. Shout out to Ron Paul. Ron Paul has been warning against E-Verify for years. Ron Paul has been warning about a lot of things for years. Shout out to Ron Paul and the End the Fed movement about 12 years ago that kind of woke me up to this. I got a chance to meet Ron Paul, and I'm trying to carry the torch. Anyway, he pointed out that it could be used to limit the job prospects of anyone who irks the government. Those who don't pay their fair share in taxes, those who, homeschool their kids, those who refuse to take government-mandated medicine, those who own firearms, you name it, whatever the government doesn't like at the time. And by the way, this was long before the idea of social credit scores. Now, just last week, Congressman Thomas Massie warned against keeping E-Verify in the proposed bill, and he said that if a social credit score system was ever adopted, a national E-Verify would be the perfect tool to control who gets to participate in society. Isn't that the point? He even said it could be used to enforce federal medicine mandates. Now, you know what I'm trying to say. I have to censor myself. Sorry, but you get the point. But as long as this act contains the E-Verify, it's laying the groundwork for a dystopian future where the federal government could roll out a social credit score system, or like I said, employment restrictions for those who refuse federally mandated medicines or any other mandates that they want to roll out, anything that they can dream up. And it's going to happen faster than you think. In fact, the social credit score, it's already here. The government just hasn't officially announced it yet. Just recently, during SEC Chair Gary Gensler's testimony in front of Congress, he seemingly revealed that social credit scoring is pretty much already being used. As a matter of fact, I want that you hear it directly from his mouth. So let's play the clip so that you can hear it for yourself.
Look, right now you can sweep the data up from your automobile driving. It's called telematics. You can sweep up your social media usage and sort of based upon that, decide how to underwrite and make a loan. There's research, actually, interesting research that shows that if you capitalize your letters for for pronouns in your emails, you're better credit than if you don't. I'm giving you this away a little bit. And if you charge your phone every night, you're better credit.
All right, so did you hear that? Did you hear what he said? He said, quote, right now, you can sweep the data up from your automobile driving. It's called telematics. So they have all your driving information, location information. It says you can sweep up your social media usage and based on that, decide on how to underwrite and make a loan. So credit score based off of social media, social credit score, it's already there. That's what Gary Gensler said. He also said that there's research that shows if you capitalize your letters for pronouns in your emails, you get better credit than if you don't. Are you shocked like I am? I mean, I'm giving this away a little bit, but if you charge your phone every night, you get better credit? What? Did you know that? Sounds pretty Orwellian, doesn't it? Or maybe like the Chinese social credit score system? Now, China assigns a number to your every move, calculating your social credit score. Do good, like, donating to a local charity or pay your bills in a timely fashion, and your credit score improves. But if you slip up, you do something they don't like, such as, voicing your displeasure in the government, voicing your dissent about a government policy, maybe leaving your dog unleashed, well, then you lose points. And if your score gets too low, then you get banned from leaving the country, you get banned from public transportation, you can't check into hotels, you don't get certain jobs, you lose the ability for your children to get into certain schools. It's one of the reasons why you see massive amounts of people in China doing community service, all trying to boost their credit scores. Now, it can also result in slower internet connections, social stigmatization in the form of registration on a public blacklist. And this is a big deal. In fact, over 30 million people in China are banned from leaving the country, traveling by train or plane, having insurance, from renting a home, going out to restaurants, and taking out loans, all because their social credit score has dropped too low. Now, for many Americans, this is a dystopian novel chapter brought to life, but here's the punchline. It's not just in China anymore. Fast Company magazine recently published a tale of how we, in the United States, are dancing to the tune of the same piper. But this piper wears a corporate suit, not a government badge. Of course, it's public-private partnership. Sound familiar? Now, nearly every major company in America is already utilizing a secret social credit score created through the gathering of all your data. Remember the time you joked about binge eating ice cream for a week straight on Instagram? Well, congratulations. You just earned a higher premium from your life insurance company. Also, a company called Patron Scan, it's the bouncer of the corporate world, has a blacklist that bars and restaurants use to keep out undesirables, people they don't want there. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Take Airbnb, the digital key master to more than 6 million homes around the globe. If you get on the wrong side, you might as well pack a tent next time you travel because you're not going to be staying at any Airbnbs. Same thing with Uber, the modern day magic carpet, which can cut off your ride privileges without batting an eye. Or consider WhatsApp. The digital dove carrying message being banned by such platforms means your communication avenues get a lot more narrow. Now, these companies, they're aggregating a mind-boggling amount of data, financial records, internet activity, and other personal data, and they're using it to determine metrics like how long companies will make people wait on hold, or whether you're allowed to make returns at a store. Now, all the way back in 2019, the New York Times published an article about this secret consumer score. And the article goes on to describe a company called Sift, which describes itself as, quote, the leader in a digital trust and safety. Now, Sift is one company that aggregates all your data to create a consumer score. Now, Sift's customers include Coinbase, LinkedIn, Twitter, Airbnb, Match.com, Wayfair, OpenTable, Indeed, Yelp, Uber, and many more. Right now, this means that access to platforms are either granted or denied based on opaque, unaccountable processes, outputting scores based on info that might not even be correct. Now, of course, the government will undoubtedly find a way to fix this problem by taking it all over, right? If they haven't already. Now, the globalists have certainly had it on their mind, now in partnership with PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. Now, the World Economic Forum has floated the idea of alternative credit decisioning, or they call it ACD. Now, by the way, PwC is a multinational professional services network with headquarters in London. It's one of the largest professional services firms in the world, and it's considered one of the big four accounting firms, along with Deloitte, Ernst & Young, and KPMG. On PwC's website, they describe the Alternative Credit Decisioning System, ACD, as an alternative credit score. It takes into account data points from all facets of your private life: financial, social, demographic, lifestyle, and even your purchasing trends. Now, the World Economic Forum published this article about social credit scoring, revealing that it's already been rolled out in emerging markets, and it works through the use of artificial intelligence and social media. Now, the stated goal is to increase inclusion. Sure. But if that's the case, why would they need to consolidate every bit and byte of data about every aspect of your entire life? Wouldn't that cause more exclusion? Seems to me. Now, consumption-related data, it's everywhere, says the WEF. Unfortunately, it's a non-uniform, disorganized, and scattered. So in the initial phase, the consolidation process, the finding, the identifying, the capturing of data has to be conducted, according to them. Now, what type of data exactly? Well, telephone data, travel data, payment data, e-commerce shopping data, your taxes, marketplace data, insurance data, your utility payments, and more. And why, again, does all this need to be collected? Well, of course, a simple reason. Once the data is consolidated and analyzed, a digital profile of you can be developed. The digital profile can then be added to an all-encompassing digital identity, which is a major component of the global elite's Great Reset agenda. Now, according to another WEF report from 2018, quote, "Our identity is literally who we are, and as the digital technologies of the fourth industrial revolution advance, our identity is increasingly digital," end quote. Now, the report reveals that financial services make up just one fraction of the whole host of social activities, records, and credentials that go into a person's digital identity. And many of them overlap with those of the alternative credit scoring scheme we just talked about, such as the data collected from social platforms, telecommunications, and e-commerce. Now, the report also says the quiet part out loud. Quote, "This digital identity determines what products, services, and information we can access, or conversely, what is closed off to us," end quote. Now, a law professor from City University of New York, Nizan Pakin, waved a caution flag back in 2019 in a Forbes piece, and she highlighted the rising risk from the collision of financial and social data. Picture in a crash on the digital highway, social segregation, a nosedive in social mobility, privacy going up in smoke, potential lending discrimination, in a world where we're all ranked like restaurants on Yelp. Now, according to Rose 11th at Slate, quote, "Your credit score can be augmented by simply looking at how positive your comments are, how often you like posts from high or low risk accounts, how quickly you respond to direct messages, and even how long you spend mindlessly scrolling. How often you text your friends back." 11th goes on to even say, "Did you call your mom on her birthday? Did you like posts about strip clubs or stockbrokers?" Well, it all adds up to a nice little score at the top of a brightly colored readout, "Your credit score enhanced." Now, the folks rubbing shoulders at Davos see these things as features, not dangers. But before you get too wound up, I believe this so-called Great Reset is a knee-jerk response to the unstoppable wave of decentralization that's on the horizon. It's a reaction to the action, all right? It's a doomed attempt to fight the evolutionary nature of economic cycles. We've seen these, recognized by smart guys like Kondratiev or Joseph Schumpeter. I've talked about these extensively in my 3 revolutionary cycles. We can link to that right here, or we will link to the playlist of the 3 videos down below as well. But in a time like this, in a time of collapse, like all other collectivist experiments before it, it fails. And although it could do a lot of damage in the process, as we're witnessing right now, it's all doomed to fail. History shows us that. History shows us what comes next. Technology has unleashed changes that can't be put back into the bottle. It's always technology that changes the world, changes the way that we work, organize, and communicate. There's no stopping the decentralization that's just starting to happen now. So what can you and I do? What can we do? Well, you can start to build your own personal financial sovereignty. How do you do that? Well, you remove yourself from the dependence of the state and others. How do you do that? Well, personal sovereignty, financial sovereignty, it's a spectrum. It's not a destination. So you want to focus on freeing yourself from tyranny, of course, right? But not just the tyranny of the government, many types of tyranny. So, for example, tyranny of wages. Start with building some savings. Have 1 to 3 months of savings. At a minimum, 6 months, 12 months is even better. Then you're not under the tyranny of wages. You can quit your job, look for something else. What about the tyranny of place? Well, you could learn new skills that allow you to earn income from anywhere in the world, so you're not stuck in one location. What about the tyranny of the global financial system? Well, you can build wealth and assets outside of the system. I think Bitcoin is the best option. Gold's also worked well for 5,000 years. Of course, land, in multiple jurisdictions, multiple countries works pretty well. What about the tyranny of the health system? Well, you can focus on building your own health. So you don't need to rely on the medical establishment. You can focus on securing your own food if you need it and things like that. And most importantly, learn more about these ideals. Share and discuss them. Wake people up to the fact that we're being led into this digital panopticon and work towards removing yourself from it. It only works if you give it power, and you are only forced to give it power if you're not sovereign. So start there and reach out. Let me know if you need any help. If there's anything I can do, because we can do this all working together. Now, what do you think? Am I being overblown, or do you think this is a big pivotal piece of putting this digital social credit score system in? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Of course, as always, give me thumbs up if you like the video. Thumbs down if you don't. That's okay. But tell me why in the comments down below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And yes, sign up for my newsletter if you'd like to get my weekly update. And watch these other videos that I'm putting up here and here that will give you more information about this. And that's what I got. To your success. I'm out.